Okay, going to present to you today some material for a capital plan for one of our elementary schools here in Oxford City Schools, Coldwater Elementary. We'll talk just a little bit about cost, some of the structures are going to be put into the building, some of the furniture and the cost of those things, some preventative things such as an HVAC unit that's going to be updated and installed into the school. So again, this is going to be over the Coldwater Elementary School, which is one of the three K through 4 schools here at Oxford City School. This is the architect. As I was talking with our new buildings person that handles these, this is the original sketch by the architect that was drawn out. And if you have been down to that school, you'll notice that the school looks identical to what this drawing is, to what the architect the first rendering that the architect gave to look at. Of course, that's the cosmetics, that's the outside. I'm going to get into some of the inner renovations that they did on the inside of the school. This shows you an outline of what that school looks like now on the outside. This says Capital Plan 2012 because it's based off of some things that they did in 2012 at some other schools. They followed kind of sort of the way he explained it to me, the same kind of protocol when they went to do these renovations at the school. These are updated in current numbers as far as the monetary part, but it follows kind of an outline or a template that they did in 2012. The additions and renovation of the school. So this is cost of the interior, all of the renovations on the inside. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. $1.7 million. The new teacher and student furniture, they did install cabinets in all the classrooms. We have new desks in all the classrooms. Teachers got new teacher desks. So all of that, the furniture that was put into the updated version is $175,000. The technology updates of $353,000 includes one extra computer lab that they did not have. It also includes a complete renovation and update of the technology of the computer lab that they already had. So you see that $1.7 million, you're going to see a bigger number in just a minute. That's why I wanted to make sure and point out that the $1.7 million is just structural changes where they put some walls in, took some walls out. That does not include the entire package. We'll talk in just a minute about some things that they did on the outside of the building. I want to go through and show you some pictures as the construction began. I know this picture is a little bit dark on this computer, but the renovation in the lunchroom, if you've been inside Coldwater Elementary, I know some of you have not, but I used to work at that school. They had to go in first, and this is a shot of what used to be back in that school years ago before Oxford owned this school, was a stage area back in the back. It's not a stage area anymore. They had to go in and renovate that. They had to actually put in a new wood flooring to keep the look of the stage, even though it's not used as a stage. So that's pretty neat if you get a chance to go down and see that. It's got a new look to it, but it still looks kind of original to what the school originally looked like. This is some more pictures of that. Again, this gives you kind of a back shot, and what I wanted you to see was that part of the renovation in this school, not every time that Oxford does a renovation, but specific to Coldwater, because they had some things such as some asbestos tile that had been covered over, so it had passed inspection, but they wanted to get it completely out of the building. So if you'll see here, you'll see that not only did they take up that tile, they took up some of the flooring underneath that. So that of course provided a little bit more cost, but that was an extra safety measure to make sure that they had all that material out of that building. Now this is looking at some of the classrooms. What they did, or what we had done inside the classrooms when we made these changes, these renovations, as you can see here that they took a wall out. This is actually 2 classrooms, going to become one classroom. They took a lot of walls out. There was some support walls that were put back into place or put into place. But what they did, they had to do this for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons they did this, the Wi-Fi system that was updated and placed into the building, they had to completely redo ceilings. Some of the barrier or fire barrier walls had to be relocated to allow them to rewire and do some of the Wi-Fi rewiring that they had to do. I talked a minute ago about some of the outside things that were done at the school. As you're familiar, all of the exception I think of maybe the middle and high school, all of the elementary schools, the 3K4 and then our school 5th, 6th, have an outdoor classroom. I was working at Coldwater when they first started this, but they went back in last year and for $15,000 more, did some additional renovations to the outdoor classroom. They do actually have some classes out there. There's, of course, the pond. There's some seating areas. They got an amphitheater, so they did some additions to that. They renovated the restrooms in the gym, so it has an entirely new look. This HVAC unit that I mentioned in just a minute is new to the gym. You're going to see a bigger cost in just a minute because that cost is much larger. You're talking about the whole school that they completely redid this, but this is just in the gym. A side note on that gym, that school was the last school in the Oxford City Schools to have the pressurization system removed. If you remember, when they first started the chemical weapon destruction at the depot, they came into all the schools and put in pressurization system. Coldwater School being located so close to the depot, they were the last ones to have that unit disconnected. So we actually saved some money by being able to tie in some to the pressurization system that was placed there by the military. To replace all of the doors was $14,000 throughout the school. I mentioned just a few minutes ago about a technology lab. The computers and technology replacements and additional laptops is $304,000. The difference there from the $304,000 to the $353,000 a few minutes ago has to do with what I talked about, some of those walls that were relocated, some of them moved, some of them taken out to account for what they had to do as far as wiring for the Wi-Fi system. So that's why you see a cost difference there. There again, the picture's not as good here as it is on my computer, but you can see the technology lab. This shows you again what I was talking about, the wall, one of those walls that they had to take out to account for the Wi-Fi system. This is a big room. This room was 3 classrooms that they turned into the second computer lab. So they did a good job, in my opinion, inside the school because they did not make the school larger as far as exterior walls, any kind of addition, but they did expand some of the classrooms, so that helps, especially with technology in. This is what I mentioned just a few minutes ago. $6 million is 2 things. The replacement of the roof, and I happened to be working there when they started this, so not only did they replace the roof, they had to replace some of the attic space structures to account for the new roof. They had to install some fire barrier walls that needed to be relocated. They had to add some fire barrier walls to that. And then, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, added to that, they had replaced the HVAC units throughout the school. I mentioned just a few minutes ago the one in the gym. They also replaced the units throughout the school. So that, in addition to the roofing system, accounts for $6 million. And then that is in addition to the $1.7 million that I showed you at the beginning of the presentation that accounts for the interior changes. I talked to you a little bit about exterior and interior changes. So added together, roughly the total cost of renovation is $7.7 million. Now, in talking with our new building persons, he made a good point. He said, that sounds like a lot, and if you've been in that school, it looks like a completely brand new school. Some raised the question, why not just build a new school? And he made a good point, even though they've got a lot of good flat ground where Coldwater is at, to remove that building, remove the footing, pour a new footing, do all that, you would go way over this cost just to create the structure. And then once you did that, of course, you'd have to do some of these things that they renovated anyway. So it's much more cost effective. The shell of the building was in good shape. Same thing they did at the Armorville with the gymnasium. The shell was fine. There just need to be some interior changes. And the roof, of course, is an exterior change, but that's a minor change as compared to building an entirely new school. So that's the capital plan. There's one for each school. Of course, this school built and opened in 2006. Coldwater has a capital plan. There's a capital plan for the new high school that they built. There's some other capital plans in the works for some additions they're going to do at the high school and in the sports facilities at the high school. So I just wanted to share that one with you about Coldwater, mainly because Coldwater, of course, is one of the K-4 schools that feeds into our school. So thank you for your time.